I'm going to be answering the question, should lawyers learn to code? To answer the question, I'm going to weigh up the pros and cons. So starting with the pros first of all, the first advantage of coding is that it can help you stand out, particularly if you're applying to law firms for vacation schemes or training contracts. You know, we all know the legal industry is incredibly competitive, and so having a skill such as coding can give you a competitive advantage and demonstrate that you have an interest in technology and demonstrate that you have tech literacy. It's particularly helpful if you're looking to secure a legal tech training contract specifically, which certain law firms such as Clifford Chance are now offering. You know, coding can give you a foundation in that and help support your application. Even if you're applying for a standard training contract, coding can give you an advantage because many law firms today are creating innovation projects. So as a lawyer with coding experience, you're likely to be called upon to contribute to that project. The second advantage of coding is that it allows you to exemplify that you've developed a certain skill set that is similar to the skill set required to be a lawyer. So for example, both coding and the practice of law require you to think logically and to solve problems. But also coding can show that you have the ability to draft well. You know, in legal drafting, it's so important that we draft in a clear, concise and structured way. Attention to detail is important and cross-referencing has to be accurate. Similarly, when you're coding, there's a specific set of rules that you have to follow, known as a syntax, and you have to know how the coding all works and fits together. The third advantage of coding is that it opens up more career options for you. Now, if you're just starting your legal career, you might not be thinking that far ahead, but having a skill such as coding, you know, will prove useful in the future, especially as there's a lot of innovation going on in the legal industry right now. More roles are opening up for legal technologists, legal engineers. You may find in the future that you want to work for a legal tech startup or even set up your own startup. So there's absolutely, you know, no harm in building an additional skill to help your career options in the future. Turning now to the cons of coding. The first major disadvantage of coding is really that you don't need to learn to code. So why learn something that you don't need in order to practice law? At the end of the day, there are a lot more important skills that you need to know as a lawyer. For example, commercial awareness, project management, even adaptability is in many ways more important than being able to code. Second disadvantage, it takes so much time and effort to learn to code. And as lawyers who are driven by the billable hour and who are already challenged for time, the decision as to whether or not to take on a new skill such as coding is an important one, and time will factor into that decision. So before you learn to code, you have to ask yourself, is the need or desire to learn coding strong enough to justify the time that it will take you to learn it? The third disadvantage of coding is even if you are willing to invest the time and effort to learn coding, you're going to have a foundational basis in coding at best. In order to really code properly, and by that I mean being able to code in a clean, maintainable, secure and bug-free manner, you really need to make coding your full-time job. And so balancing coding with a demanding career in law, in my opinion, it just doesn't work. So key takeaways really are, firstly, you don't need to learn to code to be a lawyer. It's actually much more important for you to have a general awareness of how technology is impacting the legal industry, being able to identify key legal tech trends such as document automation and artificial intelligence, and also having an understanding of key tech concepts such as legal design thinking, process management and UX. All of that, I would say, is more important than being able to code. Second of all, even if you do want to code, before you do decide that, just think about your reasons for doing it. Don't learn to code just because it's the hot thing to do right now, okay? Ask yourself, why do I want to code? Is there enough justification to do it? And if the answer is yes, go ahead.